Good morning, Year 5. Today we're going to start the last kind of part of our Year 5 curriculum that we're going to cover this year. And we're going to be looking at converting units of distance and mass. All right, and that will carry on into next week as well. So we're going to do a couple of lessons this week, and then we'll finish off in the last week of term. So what I want you to do now is just try and think of as many examples of the units we can use to measure distance and mass. All right, so it might be an idea to have a wander around your house, go through all different rooms and see if you can find any evidence of either some equipment that you might use to measure distance and mass, and then think about how they're actually measured, what units are used. So pause the video now and go and do that, okay? All right, so perhaps you went to the kitchen and you looked at the scales. Maybe you went to your bathroom. Maybe there were some weighing scales there as well. Perhaps you found a ruler, maybe a tape measure. There'd be lots of things, I imagine, that you'd be able to use to measure those two things. And hopefully some of the units you looked at were maybe centimetres, inches. There might have been pounds, ounces, grams, kilograms. Perhaps if you're thinking smaller units of distance, you might be thinking about millimetres or centimetres, inches, feet. Thinking larger units you might use, there might be metres, kilometres, miles, tonnes. We are going to focus on two types of measurement today. We're going to look at converting kilograms to grams, and then we're going to look at kilometres and metres. All right, so they are metric units, okay? They're the units that we tend to use in this country. But there are also other units that we use as well, which are imperial units. So if you're thinking about something like for volume capacity, you might think about pints. Well, we're just going to be focusing on metric units for today, okay? All right, so when we think about kilo, all right, it's that means 1,000. So if we think about a kilogram, it's 1,000 grams. A kilometre, 1,000 metres, and a kilobyte is 1,000 bytes. Now, I want you just to look at that. I've used this for a particular reason. If you look at the spelling of the word grams and kilogram and also metres, whilst this conversion is accurate, I want you to be really careful with the spelling. All right, the spelling that I want you guys to use is this spelling here. Okay, so really make sure that if you are going to use, if you're going to write the word out, that you use the correct spelling. But we've got the abbreviation there as well. Okay, which will make it a lot easier for you. So kg for kilograms, grams is just G, kilometres km, and metres is M, and you can see that they are small. They are lowercase letters, okay? The spelling that we have here is American spelling, American English, okay? We would like you to use this one here. All right, guys? Hopefully you've got that. Okay, so hopefully you also will have watched the BBC Bite Size link that I put on the school website, which is quite short. There's a few of them as well, which you can look at. So hopefully you've watched those. If you haven't watched them, pause this video now and go and watch that link. Okay, it's really, really useful. But if you have, then we'll just get on with doing some quick conversions so that hopefully you guys are, feel really confident and able to tackle the sorts of questions you're going to be looking at today and tomorrow as well. So this is a really useful diagram here because it shows us what we have to do if we are converting from kilometres to metres. Now we know that there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometre. All right, so if we have 2 kilometres, all right, then we have to multiply that, all right, by 1,000. All right, so 2 kilometres equals 2,000 meters. Okay, if we were going to do 8 kilometres, pretty sure you'd be able to figure that out. Have a go at it now. Okay, 8,000 meters. If we were looking at doing 3.5 kilometres, well, all we need to do there is we need to look at what is half of 1,000, all right, which is 500. So in meters, that would be 3,500 500. Okay. What if we wanted to look at 3 1/4? Well, let's do 4 1/4. Okay, so that would be 4.25. Okay, so they're thinking about, well, okay, we can, half of 1,000 is 500, and then if we halve that again, it's 250. All right, so we are able to think about, first of all, well, we've got 4 kilometers here, so that's going to be 4,000, and then this decimal fraction that we have here, this quarter, is going to be 250. Hopefully I'll squeeze that in there. There we go. All right. So, might be an idea now. You or whoever you're working with, think about doing some of those sorts of conversions. Okay. Perhaps you could call some out. You could do, I don't know, 3.5, or you could do 8.5, and see if you can convert from kilometers to meters. Have a go at that now for me. Okay, so we can see here that we are multiplying by 1,000 when we're going from kilometers to meters, and when we want to go from meters to kilometers, we are going to be dividing by 1,000. Now, we've done lots and lots of work in our place value. Very recently, we were looking at multiplying and dividing decimals by 10, 100 and 1,000. So you should be really, really clear on what you need to do when you're dividing by 1,000. But it is often something that children find a little bit tricky. It seems to be okay when it comes to multiplying by 1,000, but the division bit, okay, that's sometimes where people sort of slip up a little bit. All right, so I just want you to think, whenever you're dividing by 1,000, you're always going to be moving your number 3 places to the right. It's getting smaller. So if we look at the example, I'm just going to rub some of these out. So, oops, sorry, stop recording. I'm just going to rub these out so we can just focus on the example that we've got up here at the top. All right, so here we look at 2,000. We're going to divide that by 1,000. What we've done is we have moved the number that we have in our thousands column 3 places to the right. Okay, and now we can see that instead of being in our thousands column, the 2 is now in our ones column. Okay, all right, so you can see there that it's been moved to the right. Okay, and here when we're going from when we're multiplying by 1,000, we're moving it 3 places to the left. Okay, it's getting 1,000 times bigger. All right, we've done loads and loads of work on that, so I'm hoping that we should be feeling really confident about doing that. Okay, boys and girls, so don't forget that this is a really good thing to look at and to refer back to as you're working through some of the questions that you'll be attempting today. All right. Okay, and it works exactly the same when you are looking at doing grams to kilograms and kilograms to grams. Okay, it's exactly the same mathematical process. So I would have this diagram up as well, just to remind you if you're not feeling confident about that. Okay, but what I've just explained in the previous slide applies to what you're looking at here as well. Okay. All right, just to finish off for today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how you are going to get into the do it part of today's lesson. We've done a lot of work on decimals, all right, so use that knowledge to help you when you're looking at trying to figure out what this value is here. Okay, use the values that we already have, all right, in the clues that you're being given here. Okay, that's going to really help you. All right, so look at those and think, what would this be? All right, this value here that is halfway between 0 and 1. All right, 1 kilogram. Okay, so be really, really careful with that, and think carefully about how many grams there are in 1 kilogram. Remember, kilo means 1,000, so you should be okay with that. I think that'll be all right. All right, I just want to talk to you a little bit about this question here. All right, because we haven't done fractions for a little while. All right, so I just want to remind you about what we do when we want to find a single unit fraction. It's got a single unit fraction because it's 1/10. Okay, so think about how many grams there are in a kilogram. All right, and then what you need to do is you always divide that number, all right, by the denominator. Okay, this is the denominator here. It tells you how many parts that has been split up into. Okay, so you know how many grams are in a kilogram, you then need to divide by that number, okay, and that will give you your answer, okay, and that's going to help you a lot, all right, when you come over to do this question here, when you've got to try and find 3/10, because if you know what 1/10 is, then you know what 3/10 is. Remember, you just need to multiply by the numerator, okay, so whatever answer you get over here, you're then going to multiply that number by 3, okay, because you've got 3/10 of that number, okay, all right, so hopefully, just a little reminder there. I know I've kind of given you a little bit of a hand there, but we haven't done that for a while, so I thought that would be really, really helpful for you. Okay, so that's all from me today, boys and girls. I will try and do another video for Friday's lesson. All right, just a little bit of just a couple of reminders. I have written a few things on the website. Everything is there that you should need for this week, but if you do have any issues or any queries, please contact your class teacher. And as I say, we'll always try and get back to you as quickly as we possibly can. All right, and yeah, good luck with the work this week. Okay, bye.